My name is I'm the director of the Design Museum. Welcome. We're here to talk about architecture, design, and Zaha Hadid's work. We're very proud of the exhibition that we've had at the museum here. It opened in July. It's been one of the most successful and visited things that we've had. And what to me is so remarkable about it is the first time that there's been a show in Britain in which the full range of Zaha's work has come together. And we're also particularly happy that it's actually attracted an audience which seems to go beyond the world of architecture. On a Saturday and a Sunday, it's just fantastic to come into the museum and see the first floor absolutely crammed with people, kids, looking at that spectacular range of images of looking at the work. And in that first room, we've tried to really encapsulate 3 or 4 key ideas about Zaha's work. And I suppose the first of them is really the moment in London when she came here at the beginning of the 70s and was a student at the Architectural Association. And I just wondered, Zaha, if we might kick off by talking about how different things are now in London from what they were like at that moment when you came here. It seemed like very...
Well, I think interestingly, I think there's a similar moment now to the early mid-70s in terms of kind of the economy. I mean, it was kind of depressed, but there was also the oil boom, so there was a lot of kind of expenditure on part of the kind of the Arabs who were here, and so there's a kind of a similarity, and there was, of course, in the early 70s, the whole the jet set thing was very big, and there was still a residue of kind of the design of the 60s, and there was still that going on. But there was a very political moment. I mean, I remember the AA at the time and the whole Brian Hanson thing about Covent Garden and not making it kind of really commercial, and all that was going on also at the same time. And the post kind of 68 period where it was, in a way it was, when I was at the AA, it was kind of anti-design. And I remember us going to Alma saying we want to have design studios. He kind of laughed at us, told us to whatever do with ourselves. And then they exiled us to actually Covent Garden because it was empty. There was no flower market, there was nobody there. So we occupied like a whole warehouse on Elm Street because we were, like semi-decadent, corrupt people who wanted to design things.
And draw things. Okay. But, the biggest difference to me seems that in those days practice was big if you had 25 people working in an architect's studio. Now 100 is small.
I wouldn't know because I never worked in one, but they had a program at the AA which was to send students who have done nothing for 2 years but, like testing sound in a warehouse or cleaning it, to doing all these kind of funny things. They had this program called something like building something. So they sent us to these offices who were the complete extreme end of what the AA would be. So I went into this office and the guy says to me, I hear you all green at the AA. I was, my English was all right, but I didn't understand green. First year student. So I said, no, I'm really not green. But there was kind of some nasty people lurking at the AA at the time. There was lots of very nice people, but some rather nasty people.
Is that where you learned to paint?
No, not at the AA. No, the AA didn't teach anything. After 3 years you discovered that there is a place where there are lots of interesting people around, and you have to kind of be smart enough to tap where they are and then chase them and make them teach you. So it was an effort, and actually it was interesting because you had to really quite quickly learn what it is you want to know, what you want to chase.
Did you want to know how to design, or did you know how to design?
I don't think I knew how to design. I knew how to draw, which gave me tremendous advantage over many people that first year because I knew how to draw and I can ink. But of course also at the time, there were lots of people who were technicians, they were called draftsmen or whatever, who actually had done work for like 20, 15 years, and design building, but they were not qualified, who were also at the AA. So the AA was a mixture of like 18-year-olds to 40-year-olds. And it was a kind of a camaraderie within this years that people taught each other things. I mean, we used to spend more time in the kind of, not the bar and the restaurant. And people literally taught each other things. And I'm not saying they're not really they're brilliant teachers, and there was a very big range of people, and you know, the jury system was very open, and you can go from jury to another, and after really 2 years, you did know, you kind of, and also many lectures. I mean, there were lectures from morning till night, and I mean, maybe you walk into the lecture hall, there's 1 or 2 people in it, you know, but still, if you want to stay and, you know, hear about whatever was going on.
What made you come to London in the first place?
Well, I always liked London. I mean, my brother was at school here, and my 2 brothers my father went to school in England in the 30s. My 2 brothers went to school in Britain, and when I was like 10 and just over, I used to come over here, and I knew about the AA because I always wanted to become an architect at age 11, and my brother at the time, well, there was a great place called the AA. A friend of his went to school there, was going to school there actually, another Iraqi, so it stayed with me. But I always liked London, and it was a great city, and you know, it was at the time, you know, the Beatles and everything. And I used to come, I know how my parents let me be very, I mean, they would let me be very independent. So I used to go to see movies on my own and run around King's Road. So that was my kind of summer every year. And then I came to school here for a short period of time, then I went to Beirut, and then I decided to come back here.
And what happened when you were 11 that made you want to be an architect?
I don't know, I mean, there was also a period in Iraq where, like in many places in the Middle East and also in maybe South America, in the 60s, where the identity and architecture were connected. And it was a moment of modernization and new politics, new states, new buildings. Of course, also if you think of America and the 60s in South America, and always kind of getting Time Life magazine with all these images. So there was partly that, and also, I think my family was also interested in the topic. And I remember going to an exhibition, I don't remember very well, but it was, I think, something to do with Frank Lloyd, because he was in the Opera House in Baghdad. And it was an exhibition to do with that, well not with that, but to do with other projects. And I was just kind of very intrigued by it.
That Wright project was extraordinary. It involved a very large figure in the river pointing.
Well, there was one more than one project. One was called the Abu Nawas, which is the promenade on the river, where it was named after a figure of the Abbasid period, Abu Nawas, and he did a statue in the name of the. I mean, actually, the Guggenheim also did a show on Wright in Baghdad, because it was at the Opera House and a whole bunch of projects which were on show. I know when they had a show at MoMA a few years ago. So there was a show about, maybe he was visiting, or I know, but there were other projects from that place. And I remember this very well when I went to see that.